Stephanie, and welcome to Wine Club. This is the playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender is Dark Corners by Megan Golden. So before I get into the review, I do want to note that I will be spoiling the book as I have quite a few thoughts about this one. And I want to say that this review is solely about the book, not Golden as a person. I'm sure she's lovely, but this book was not. But before we get into the review, let's see what Dark Corners, which was my July Book of the Month pick, promised to be about. Terrence Bailey is about to be released from prison for breaking and entering, though investigators have long suspected him in the murders of 6 women. As his release date approaches, Bailey gets a surprise visit from Madison Logan, a hot young influencer with a huge social media following. Hours later, Madison disappears, and police suspect she's been kidnapped, or worse. Is Madison's disappearance connected to her visit to Bailey? And why was she visiting him in the first place? When it hits a wall in the investigation, the FBI reluctantly asks for Rachel Crall's help to find the missing influencer. Madison seems to exist only on social media. She has no family or friends, and other than in her posts, most people have never seen her. Who is she really? Using a fake Instagram account, Rachel goes undercover to BuzzCon, a popular influencer conference, where she discovers a world of fierce rivalry that may have turned lethal. When police find the body of a woman with a tattoo of a snake eating its tail, identical to a tattoo Rachel had seen on Bailey's hand, the FBI must consider a chilling possibility. Bailey has an accomplice on the outside and a dangerous obsession with influencers, including Rachel Crall herself. Suddenly, the target of a monster hiding in plain sight, Rachel is forced to confront the very real dangers that lurk in the dark corners of the internet. So first up, I did not know that this was book 2 of a series. And I also don't think I missed out on much by going into this book blind. I did see other reviews that said this version of Rachel, our main character, woke up on the wrong side of the bed in this book and was a bit more combative than she was in the first. I also noticed that, but I just assumed that was part of her personality and that's just the way she was. Like, she's kind of egotistical in the way that she thinks she doesn't have to sign an NDA when the FBI brings her in for questioning. And she just walks all over a crime scene. Actually, I think 2 crime scenes. Like, what? Honestly, she was kind of insufferable. She is stubborn beyond belief and just plain rude. She's also very standoffish, arrogant, and claims to be this great reporter, but she also doesn't have any charm. So I don't see why all these side characters are willing to tell her everything and all that she needs to know. I mean, I guess we're told every 2 pages how beautiful and sexy and cool and amazing Rachel is, so there's that. I mean, seriously, I was worried the FBI agent, Joe Martinez, who we will see his full name in print every freaking 5 pages, I was worried his head was going to get stuck up her ass with how much he's praising her and telling her she's the second coming when it comes to being a detective. I really was torn on whether I even liked Rachel. She stomps all over Joe's investigations, gets in his face, and basically tells him she knows a supposed serial killer just got out of jail and is fixated on her, but she will not be going home where she is safe, thank you very much. She has an investigation to attend to. Even though she'd rather go swimming or running on the beach or ignoring everyone whenever it's time to get down to business. Do you want to investigate or not, Rachel? As someone who manages social media professionally and personally, I was dying, absolutely dying, when Rachel goes undercover at the influencer conference and uses her old-ass Instagram account that still has 19,000 followers, even though she hasn't posted in 2 years. No. That account would be useless. I also had a good laugh at her going undercover and just the conference letting her use this old Instagram account. Like, why is this conference bending over backwards for her when she's being a petulant little child and not even promoting it? Like, please. They would have been like, yeah, you can sleep outside on the curb. She is actively disdainful of all the freebies she gets. Like, she hates that she gets a nice room at the hotel, and she's just such a brat. show some gratitude for what they're giving you. Oh, also, there's a part where she's getting like the freebie bag that just doesn't make sense to me because she's given the goodies and told not to mark the products as ads or sponsored content because they want the post to seem organic. But then she's given a referral code that would have to be marked as an ad or partnership content. The conference organizers would know this. You have to disclose paid or sponsored posts or products. Just the bare minimum of research would have told me this. I also wonder why she uses her real name at all when she made the switch to podcasting. She's all, I don't want any perks or recognition. Then use a fake name. Like, it's not that hard. You be like an actress. Pick a fake name. I mean, maybe it was explained in book 1, but I really felt her resistance to using her name, like, on her channel, and to her advantage in doing this investigation, it read really weird, as well as her complete lack of understanding of how social media works. She's my age, or close to it, is she not? And she's also a businesswoman with her own brand. She can't have this Instagram account that has 19,000 followers without knowing a thing or two about social media. Now, that could totally just be me and my own projections, as, again, I work in this type of industry. But I don't get it. Also, what is her motivation then with her podcast? She shows absolute disdain and contempt for the influencers attending the conference. Are some influencers narcissistic and think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread? Sure. Just like there are bad eggs in every industry. But some just like living a different lifestyle, creating useful content for others in specific niches, and some just don't want to be tied to a regular job and can actually make decent money this way. Again, she is in a very similar industry. She runs a podcast. She needs sponsorships and ad revenue, unless she won the lottery and just does the podcast for fun. But it doesn't read that way, and I don't think so. It just felt like Rachel had a very privileged position. Like, she gets to look down on these guys who are actually putting effort into their accounts, as she apparently doesn't have to. She has Pete, her producer or whatever. He can handle all of it. So she still gets the benefits from social media without doing the work. So, like, how nice of her to sneer at those that actually put time and resources into their accounts. Like, how dare they? I know social media influencers can be polarizing, but ones I've worked with tend to be good people who just enjoy sharing content. It really just rubbed me the wrong way how Rachel just constantly looks down her nose at these people when, again, she has to do some of the same things they do to make money, to make a living. I also have to say, the relationship between Rachel and Joe felt so forced. Like, I can understand the I hate you because I really want to do you chemistry, but I don't think they really had that. Plus, I love that his dead wife has the same name as me. Cool, yo. Though I do think Joe had some good quips and one-liners, so I actually enjoyed his character. I would have much rather followed him throughout this book than Rachel. The funny thing with the relationship is Rachel was nothing but antagonistic toward him, but then is all, ooh, I've been so intrigued since I met him. Are you sure? Have you? But we sure as hell didn't read that part. I also have to point out a major, major annoyance with this book. So a classic piece of writing advice is to watch how often you are using characters' names in conversations, especially in scenes when there are just two people talking. We can keep track, I promise you. Golden apparently does not think so, because she is constantly dropping characters' names into conversations, and it makes for a horrendous reading experience. Like, there are conversations that go, I'm keeping you out of this, Rachel. Then you don't know me very well, Joe. I take it as a threat. That's why I'm keeping you out of this, Rachel. I don't work for you, Joe. I decide where I go and what I do. What does that symbol mean, Joe? It's a sign of death, Rachel. And then 2 pages later, Joe is trying to get her to leave. It's a party town, Rachel. Go to the Florida Keys. Rachel, it was a mistake bringing you here. We haven't known each other long, Joe, but it takes more than that to scare me. There's a link between all these cases. It includes you, Rachel. Actually, Joe, there's another link. Please, Rachel, fly home tomorrow. I'll think about it, Joe. Oh my God, no one talks like this. I barely ever say my own husband's name when I'm talking to him. I barely use anyone's name unless I'm referencing them to someone else. It was just so annoying to see their names all over the place. Plus, Golden did this thing where she would always use people's full names, and it felt really random. Like, halfway through a chapter, we're following Joe. We know damn well who Joe is, and there'll be a sentence that starts with, Joe Martinez stepped into the police station. We know! Or we'll be with Rachel, and we have to hear how she's Rachel Kroll. We know. I did have another good laugh when Terrence says something under his breath after her first meeting with him, and then Joe's partner reveals it to Rachel, and he's all cryptic, like, what he said is going to give you nightmares. And then we find out what Terrence warned her about was the scariest monster is the one that hides in plain sight. Okay, not exactly nightmare fuel, but okay. Honestly, this book was a disappointment. It honestly read like it was poorly written. It almost read like Golden didn't trust her readers to put together certain things and spelled everything out and repeated everything so much. Like, the writing in this is also very basic. It's choppy, and it read like a first draft. On the one hand, as someone who hopes to publish my own work in the future, it gives me hope that this is the level that's expected. But that also bums me out. It read like some drafts I have that are just basic scenes because I'm just trying to lay the foundation and I'm going to rework it later to build them out more and add more details. But like, even in this, there's a lot of Martinez walked through the gap. On the other side of the embankment was a small clearing. It was connected by a dirt path to a rural road. The driver had taken a shortcut. Or Rachel Kroll rolled her mini overnight suitcase along the corridor to her hotel room. She slid her key card into the door and entered the plush room filled with the scent of orange blossoms from an essential oil's room fragrance. Rachel went into her room. There was also a lot of repetition in this. Like, the exact same phrasing and descriptions are copy and pasted multiple times. For example, Rachel had to pass the BuzzCon cocktail party being held on the grass near the pool to get to the gate. She was guiltily skipping the party so she could squeeze in her run. Rachel zigzagged among people holding vividly colored daiquiris and frosted glasses as they posed for photos. A page later, a waiter holding a tray of daiquiris moved among the guests. The bright sherbet colors of the cocktails hinted at their flavors: strawberry, pineapple, and kiwi. The most egregious one is the rideshare app flashes the passenger's name. Johnny Macon, I'm going to say Macon. He wears jeans, ankle boots, and a tuxedo t-shirt that's so tight it shows off the cubes of his washboard stomach. 5 pages later, the MC took the microphone long enough to make a couple of jokes that fell flat before calling up a new speaker dressed in jeans and a tuxedo t-shirt so tight it displayed the grooves of his washboard stomach. We also hear how Madison's rope is long enough to give her access to the toilet and the sink. Multiple times. I know, I don't need to be reminded. I also felt like there was this weird thing going on where some chapters would open with setting the scene and then veer backwards in time to how we got there and then catch up to where we opened. Like, some chapter opens up with Rachel at breakfast, but then it goes back to the night before and then carries up until we meet with her at the beginning. It was an odd writing choice in my opinion. Maybe it works for some people. Didn't work for me. Plus, I also have to call out the research here. My husband lived in Florida. He has gotten in trouble here in Colorado because his car only has a license plate on the back. Florida cars do not need both sets of license plates like they do elsewhere. And there are 2 scenes in the book where Thomas, the killer, has to change out his plates. And she makes sure to mention he changed them front and back. False. He would only need 1. I also think it is amazing, like absolutely amazing. Read, it only happens so that the plot can move forward, that Thomas is able to pick up Rachel. How the hell did he know she was leaving? How the hell did he know that Joe had offered to book her a car? Why does Rachel get in it? Why did the hotel receptionist give away Rachel's room number when Thomas called the hotel? They wouldn't. They would just connect the call. It's also so lucky that Joe thinks with his penis and gives Rachel all the information she needs and shows her pictures of crime scenes so she can be an active participant of the investigation. Real nice of them to help out this podcaster out like that. I just, again, there's a lot of things that I wonder, like, was this edited at all? I just don't feel like this book was as polished as it should have been to be published. This has to be a first draft. And from reading some Goodreads reviews, it seems that not much was changed between the ARC version of this and the final published version, which is a real shame. Also, why did we never get any resolution to why the murders were different? Like, why did Thomas change his MO with these girls? I never get an answer. Someone else on Goodreads noted that this book felt very different from book one, and they mused that maybe this was a completely different character at first, and then Golden went back in and made the story fit with the Rachel Crawl series without changing the main character back into Rachel. I'm honestly not sure if I'm going to go back and read the first book. I'm tempted, as I want to see a good Rachel, the Rachel that Joe apparently sees with his rose-tinted glasses. But I also don't really care, knowing that this is who she becomes in book two. I will say, for some good things, I did think the beginning of the book was really strong. I was pulled into the story and the setup right away. I really wanted to see how these disappearances tied together and who was working with who. I do think Golden did a decent job with the twist and the final reveal of what was really going on. It felt real, and it worked with the clues that we were given. I also thought that this was a relatively quick read. There were definitely some fluffy and filler scenes, but I still think I got through this in like 2 or 3 days. The foundations of a good book were there. They just needed some time and some work. I also don't think the podcast formatting really worked here, as it takes away some of the tension, because we know Rachel is going to be fine if she's telling the story after the fact. Like, again, it just kind of sounds like the podcasting portion was better integrated in the first book than it was in this one. At first, I rated this 2.5 stars, but now, after all my ranting, I might be taking away half a star. The more I read it, the more I found things I did not like. And it's a shame because, again, the setup, the premise is there. Even the main characters, if I had gotten book one Rachel, I probably would have really liked this. But alas, it is not to be. So tell me, have you read the first Rachel Crawl book? Let me know if I should give it a try, or leave a recommendation of a book that does fit that true crime podcast, but in a good way. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time at Wine Club.